Former President Kgalema Motlanthe says the government isn't doing its best to turn the economy around and create much-needed jobs. He offers some suggestions. Speaking during a wide-ranging interview looking back at the past year, Motlanthe said some of the reasons for the collapse of state-owned enterprises are self-inflicted. With so many politicians having lowered the moral bar, Motlanthe says it's now up to civil society to demand servant leaders who will put the country first. Motlanthe sat down with ENCA's political editor Vuyo Mvoko, who began by asking him what he thought were some of the problems plaguing the current political system.
Do we have a common understanding of what our national interests are as South Africans, so that the pursuit of those national and promotion national interests can inform endeavors at all levels? The answer is no, we don't. We haven't quite defined that and persuaded the broadest cross-section of society to rally behind what we deem to be our national interests. Secondly, in an ethical society, you have a bar. You see, you raise the bar to a certain level of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable conduct. But once you get to a point where you say the only bar we have is that you must be convicted by a court of law for you to be seen as an unworthy servant, that's a very low, ethically speaking and morally speaking. It's almost as though we live by the 11th commandment, which says, "Thou shalt not be caught." So as long as you are not caught and charged and convicted, it's fine. All is well. You're accepted. Your conduct is accepted. And I'm really saying that that's the lowest bar. It means, in terms of ethics, we really resort to the lowest bar.
How do we change that?
Leadership plays a very important role, because by just force of example, leadership can set a very high standard, and people tend to follow what the leaders do, and if the leaders live by the 11th commandment, then people down there don't need a second invitation. They just think, well, it's allowed, it's permissible. You see? So we got to also strive to get to a point where we have servant leaders who regard themselves as unworthy, so that they can respect the people who put them in office.
I mean, as a maybe I should tap into your experience as the man who once ran the African National Congress, which, as Govan Beki once put it, once stood for all great things of this world. Where do you think the wheels came off? Where do you think perhaps that big movement dropped the ball and is today able to not only put questionable characters in positions of responsibility, but actually goes out of its way to actually go out there and defend them when people say these people are not the kinds of people that should be leading us?
From 1912 to 1994, it's a period of 82 years. And in those 82 years, the ANC justified its existence and its role in the struggle against colonialism and apartheid in the name of the people, that it is always acting in the best interest of the people. And because of the hazards and the risks involved in that period of struggle, not everybody could participate openly. And so those who, either for reasons of, fear of losing their jobs and so on, were willing to delegate their right to participate and to take decisions to those who were courageous enough to take a stand and be in the frontline trenches. I think the failure on the part of the ANC and other liberation organizations to pause and say, this is the moment where these people in whose name we wage this struggle must now come and participate in the reconstruction of this country. That omission meant that a substitution happened, that increasingly the movement regarded itself as the people and not as the spearhead of the people. And I think it's that omission which robbed the movement from being renewed. When these movements happen, these changes happen, and when as a political organization you're saying we're transforming this society, you must also know that you are being transformed yourselves. And at some point you need to pause and understand how you are yourselves being changed. I think we never, afforded ourselves that opportunity. So that's why even today we talk about the renewal as an esoteric discussion, you see. Whereas renewal means opening up. I mean, the broadest cross-section of South Africans must come into the fold. And they will bring new thinking, new energies, and create new problems, but that would make the movement to be truly representative.
Well, on the back of what we've experienced over the past decade, there was renewed hope post-Nasrec. That the ANC, in fact, it was the ANC itself, or its cadres, who said the ANC was going to self-correct, it was going to renew itself.
Once again, the role of leadership is very important in this regard. And also the wrongdoing must lead to consequences.